Hello everyone, it is I, the Unabridged Gamer, back to bring more dark deets on the Dark Pictures. As is always the case with a new Dark Pictures game, The Devil in Me is loaded with references to other games in the series, both past and future, so let's take a look at some of the clear ones, and then make some wild guesses about what might be coming in the future based on the thinnest of evidence. This sign-in sheet features an appearance by Jeff Kolchak, possibly a brother or cousin to Jason? As we learned from the Directive 8020 teaser that plays at the end of the credits, that game features a spaceship called the Cassiopeia, and this plaque, commemorating a nautical disaster that befell a boat of the same name, suggests something very bad will befall its crew. This room, which is visible only as Player 2 or in the Curator's Cut, has pictures from the entire first season of the Dark Pictures adorning its walls, including the Curator's library. And this picture, which seems to depict a snowy forest, might even refer to Until Dawn. Doesn't this soup stain, or blood stain if you made a bad mistake, look an awful lot like one of the bat creatures from House of Ashes? If the teaser for Directive 8020 wasn't enough, not only does the curator mention that he'll be seeing us in the future, but here in the last scene, his library has been transported into deep space. It's no accident that this adorable pupper's collar reads Connie. He's named after Conrad from Man of Medan. It's a zombie-themed band headlining a concert held in the Winterfold Forest. Could this be an any more obvious reference? Note the date of the concert, 1993. Is this when the game will be set? The way ages specialists in House of Ashes talk about it suggests that it happened a while ago, and a decade of separation is plenty of time for that kind of characterization to make sense. This magazine cover is absolutely packed with references to Directive 8020. The article about new advancements in stasis technology refers to the way the characters will be asleep for most of the multi-year journey to Tau Ceti F. More importantly, would any of us be surprised if it turned out that the so-called advances in technology were enabled by the government getting access to X-1172, the Bat Monster's stasis gel? The one about ethics of manned space exploration is a reference to the real-world Directive 8020, which concerns steps that need to be taken to ensure that humans don't contaminate other planets with Earth bacteria, and vice versa. Is the Corinth mission to Mars mentioned on the cover of the magazine, the first step in a new space exploration project that eventually leads to the Cassiopeia mission in the game? That seems very likely, which brings us to the final article, What Lies Under Europa? This is a reference to Jupiter's moon, which is the subject of a hypothesis that there may be an underground ocean capable of supporting life tucked away beneath its arid surface. Does this mean that the characters in 8020 will actually travel to Tau Ceti F and find something unexpected there? Maybe that's a stretch. But wouldn't it be weird if only 3 of the 4 stories were related to 8020? Also, is the fact that the humans in the world of Dark Pictures are ready to start going to Mars in the 2020s a suggestion that in addition to the stasis tech, their space travel technology has been jump-started by access to the Bat Monster spaceship under a rock? Joke title aside, the Breaking Walls book has a description on the back, which suggests that people focus on defeating their inner demons as a way to find psychological health and overcome trauma, which is the literal plot of Little Hope. Tragically, the author of the book is not the fantasy psychologist from Anthony's Dream. That would have been a little bit too neat and tidy, I guess. There are clear nods to other games in the series. Now let's take a look at some of the clues that seem important, but we can't exactly tell which game they're pointed at. The bag pulled over the fake groundskeeper's head makes him look a little like a scarecrow. Is that there to disguise the fact that it's a doll? Or is it another nod to a scarecrow threat in an upcoming game? Like the paintings from earlier, these guys from Switchback, and this scarecrow-looking guy in the game's opening credits. Between the map of it in House of Ashes and the Rathlin suite that appears in this game, it's now all but certain that a future game will be set on Rathlin Island. The question is, which one? Our previous guess was The Craven Man, the title and logo suggests folk horror, and Rathlin is an isolated island, but what if it's actually Intercession? This brings us to our next clue. T.S. Hartley is the credited author of Shroud of Innocence, the book from Man of Medan and Little Hope that pointed at the plot of Little Hope. That suggests that this book, Yellow Cross, also points to an upcoming game, but which one? The cross on the cover suggests Intercession with its medieval crucifix standing in for a T, and the book concerns a real religious massacre of Cathars by Simon de Montfort's Crusaders in the early 13th century. How does this tie into Rathlin Island? Not directly, but the island was the site of a famous religious massacre of Catholic McDonald's by Presbyterian Campbells, in which civilians were tossed off of cliffs. Yikes! So perhaps it's a thematic link. See this spire in the opening credits of House of Ashes? It would make sense to credit it as being related to some kind of horror trope, but in an interesting aside, a spider was the symbol of Scottish King Robert the Bruce. This is because when he was forced to flee Scotland after the Battle of Methven, he supposedly watched a spider make attempt after attempt to start a web across the roof of a cave and figured that if a spider can keep trying, so can he. What does he have to do with the dark pictures? According to legend, the cave that Robert the Bruce was hiding in was located on Rathlin Island. And also, this bird-watching guide of the British Isles can be found in the destroyed shed along with the vacation photo. Rathlin is a British isle, and according to this website, the aforementioned cliffs are a fantastic place for bird watching. The evidence is growing overwhelming. While we don't know exactly which game these are pointing to, predictions can wait until another video. There are at least solid evidence pointing toward future games. Finally, let's take a look at pieces of evidence that seem meaningful but have no obvious connection. There's plenty of excitement about the possibility of a Mothman showing up in a future game, or setting a story around the mythology of the creature. Up until this point, there's been no real evidence pointing in this direction, other than the word appearing in Salim's name. There's still no direct proof to offer, but two interesting things do turn up in The Devil in Me that are worth considering. While we've already credited this bloodstain to being a reference to the bat monsters, isn't it possibly a depiction of the Mothman? Secondly, we have the fact that Hector Monday is from Silver Springs, Maryland. While that's not where the Mothman appeared, sightings of it are famously tied to the Silver River Bridge collapse. Maybe that's just a coincidence, but the developers could have made Hector's hometown literally anywhere in America, so we have to at least consider the possibility that there's some importance to the location's name. Thirdly, while it's not strictly present in the game, the Death's Head moth shirt that Abby wears in the quarry is reliably seen as pointing to the plot of this game via Silence of the Lambs. Could the moth also be relevant? There are two appearances of the word prairie in the game. The first is Charlie smoking Prairie brand cigarettes, and the second is Lucinda Monday living in Twilight Prairie Care Home. It's weird to see such a particular word repeated in so many different contexts. It makes sense as a brand of cigarettes, recalling the American West and Marlboro's famous cowboy association, but it's a very strange name to give a retirement community in Maryland. Do they want us to pay attention to the name? While we haven't hit any other direct references to prairies in the games just yet, this house from the opening credits certainly is something you might see out on the plains. Will we someday be hounded by scarecrows on the Twilight Prairie? Is the presumable folk horror of the Craven Man actually set in the endless fields of the American Midwest, Children of the Corn style? In the staff party chapter of the game, the player can unlock a safe by using the date on a plaque commemorating one Dr. K. The rest of the name is scratched out, but it's intact enough that we can identify it as being Dr. K. Mortimer. Is this name going to be important in the future, and they're giving us an incredibly subtle clue about it? We can also find this painting in the same chapter. Yes, it's just a painting of the next room, but someone went to a lot of trouble to make it. The rest of the game's walls are decorated with Man Medan boat art, other than the painting of Holmes' execution, so the very fact that this exists at all suggests some degree of importance to it. We've got a woman with white hair and a man with a mustache, both very memorable. Are these characters we'll be seeing in the future? Then there's the painting over the fireplace in the traditional location of where the curator showcases scenes from the game we're playing. This painting is of a snow-covered mountain, so can we expect to see this as a location in a future game? It brings to mind the mention of the Japanese Olympics way back in Little Hope. And that's all the references that jumped out to us, although there could be many more hidden away that we just can't identify quite yet because we don't have enough information about the premises of the upcoming games. Are there any other references you noticed? Are there things that might be pointing to as of yet unnoticed titles? If you've spotted them, let us know in the comment section below.
Hidden Object Guru here. Thanks for watching the video, and now since you've made it to the end, maybe consider liking and subscribing, both here and to Unabridged's channel, where he covers all of the hidden gems you can handle. Also, be sure to check out my new game Dracula Defense on Steam. It's the only tower defense game where you can defend Dracula. See you back here for more Dark Pictures content, but until then, au revoir.